Today is Saturday, March 18th, 2023. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is the listener feedback show for Survivor 44 Week 3.
Week 3, and it seemed like a jam-packed episode, but I'm anxious to hear what the other superfans thought.
Okay.
How many folks?
21 people.
21. It's a busy show.
Yes, all right.
Perhaps we should get started. What do you think?
I would have already started.
First up, we got a call from Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling here. Well, another solid episode, guys. Now, some might say this was predictable, maybe even anticlimactic based on the outcome, but it was anything but. I didn't know who was going to go home. I thought it was going to be the invisible Josh, but I was wrong. I'm going to go a great big woo! And I gotta say this, guys. Bye-bye, Claire! Cause you're a diva! And you sat out 3 challenges thinking you were Sandra, but it wasn't worth it for you! Bye-bye! Woo! Man, you know what, Stacey? I'm sure you talked about it on your recap podcast. Claire had nothing to offer. Now, maybe she could have been a good strategist, maybe socially, but when you set out 3 challenges and offer nothing to help your team win, and it looks like she wasn't doing much at camp either, you gotta be sent home. And I was satisfied with the outcome. She may have offered some strategy, but nothing in the challenges, though. They made the right choice there for sure. But man, though, can you believe Matt, Franny, they better watch out, though, that couple, because Danny and them, they're on to that couple for sure. And then Heidi, you gotta watch out for, too. Heidi, I think, is gonna be an emotional wreck there. Those players are dangerous. Hope she's not turning into, what is it, like a Holly or a Sugar there. You don't want those players around. But Danny, though, what a job by Danny on the green team. No, we knew about him having the idol from last week, but man, how about eating the clue there and all that, about it being a fake, and then putting it back in the bird cage, using it as a fake idol with the note, and poor Matt ended up taking the bait, not having a clue. Man, well, that obviously beats when Ozzy had the fake stick. Even back when, well, the best fake idol to me is always going to be Bob and Gabone, but that was awesome by Danny. Even Matthew there with Jamie. I forgot about him finding an idol there, too. Good for him. And Jamie doesn't have a clue either. We'll see how it pans out in future tribals. Could be some interesting facial expressions for sure there. But the orange team, guys, after the first week, they're clearly the team to beat now, which we all kind of thought. And again, how about that purple team? Again, I didn't think they could pull it out, but I give Jam and Carson credit. Now, granted that they looked at the other team's cubes there to figure out those colors, but hey, they won, and I think it saved us Sarah. I'm willing to bet she would have been gone if purple lost. But this is a great episode, guys. Time to listen to Probst's podcast about casting now and see if there's any extra clips, because I want to see, guys, how Franny was able to change her vote. I thought Franny was going to stay with Claire, but it ended up being a unanimous vote. And of course, the shot in the dark didn't work out. Great episode, though, guys. Good night, Claire. Woo!
Whoa, thanks, Pete. Yeah, and one of those extra clips, you can clearly see where Soka goes to get tree mail. You clearly see Claire already planning to sit out. She declares 3 in a row.
3 for 3, she said.
Yeah, she's excited about sitting out again. And unfortunately, she brought nothing to the game like a Sandra player does. outside of that willingness to sit out. And so she just truly didn't have much to offer. Her exit interviews. One thing that stood out, I guess, was with Gordon Holmes. He celebrated her, and this seems justly so, for her initial ability to make the most of that sit-out time. That connection she made with Matthew, the information she shared and gathered, was stellar. That was top-notch. So if we're going to say something in celebration of Claire's game, she was really good at working the mats from the sit-out bench in that first opportunity that she got. I guess not so much when she was sitting there with Heidi and Lauren on the other side. And she basically was saying that Heidi kind of was blocking her making a connection with Lauren, and Lauren was kind of closed down. She wasn't as social as Matthew was, so she wasn't able to get anything going in that scenario, either talking to her tribe mate Heidi or with Lauren, with Heidi sometimes getting in her way of talking to Lauren.
Well, interesting, because that would imply to me that even after the merge, those two might be real leery of her, had she made it.
That Heidi and Lauren would be?
Of Claire and her trying to connect to them in that way. Or not, but if they weren't...
Possibly, I guess.
They weren't communicating with her, then maybe it's because they didn't trust her.
Yes. And you could see some of that in her demeanor and how she talked and her mannerisms. That would have been, she would have been challenging. I would have made the effort for sure, because that's one thing you got to do. You got to be constantly touching in with everybody in your alliance and everybody in your tribe.
I would like to see that, because she would get on your every nerve.
Yes, she would. But you again, you gotta make that. It was hard to watch the interviews even for me. I play them at double speed, but I even wanted to skip over parts because she was preening, and her
hair.
Yeah, her hair, her verbal mannerisms, and how she gestures, all of it was really, for whatever reason, is very off-putting to me. But yes, she would be a challenge. And then in the end, you'd be just fine with not connecting because she's gone. You don't know that until it happens, though.
Well, I'm glad, and I think we should give her credit for the things she did do well. So.
Yeah, that was significant, and it had an impact on the game. You saw what Matthew was able to do with that.
I was just against her as a player from the get-go, because in her preseason interviews saying, well, I don't see how I would have much to contribute to challenges. So, she's basically going to try to do as little as possible with anything.
Yeah.
Around camp or challenges or whatever. She's just going to sit back, and I thought, you are not Sandra. And I'm pretty sure Sandra worked around camp.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I don't know about Clara. We didn't see that, but I don't know that she didn't.
Sandra primarily played in seasons where you had the reward challenge and the immunity challenge. So
right. So it was easier to sit out. You didn't just sit out every...
Right. She could play in the reward and then sit out the immunity. So
right.
She wouldn't have that burden on her if she contributed to a loss from that kind of thing. So
right.
It wasn't sitting out everything. Good deal. Thanks, Pete. Next up, we got a call from Robert.
Hey, Joanna, Stacey, and Survivor fans. This is Robert from Canada calling in with my listener feedback. I hope that everyone enjoyed this episode. My wife and I got in late last night. We were away for March break with our kids, so we watched the episode and then listened to the podcast. So my feelings on the episode are pretty fresh, but my thoughts are a little bit scattered, so you'll have to bear with me. This week I had Sarah as going home thinking that Tika was going to lose at the challenge, but I have to say that Tika constantly surprises me with how well they actually perform in these challenges. But I don't think you can call their performance this week all that admirable. It's become an issue in previous seasons where tribes are peeking at the completed puzzle to try to get theirs done, and in this episode it seemed particularly egregious with them actually circling around the other team's puzzle, and I didn't really like it. So I hope that Jeff and company will possibly consider putting in some sort of dividers in the future, but we'll see about that. With the fake hidden immunity idols coming out this episode, I like the way that Danny did it more than Matthew. I think fake hidden immunity idols have always been interesting in the game, but I think that's only if they're used sparingly, so I hope they don't become so prevalent that they become like an integral part to the game where now whenever somebody finds a hidden immunity idol, it's always going to be like, oh, is this a real one or a fake one? I think it'll make it less interesting, but we'll see how these ones play out, and it could be interesting, at least in this season. Going into Tribal Council, I was a little bit worried this week because I've been trying to spread out my save points, and I had Josh's save. But I was pretty sure, since we haven't really seen any of Josh's backstory yet, that it wouldn't really make sense for them to send him home yet. So I was happy to see that Claire went home, and I think that was the right decision for the tribe. And I think that if you come to Survivor to play, like, even if you think it might be best for the tribe for you to sit out, you have to participate. And I think Jeff was clearly like annoyed as well, so I think it was the best decision for the tribe moving forward in the game. As far as my predictions for next week, I saw somebody on the Survivor subreddit post a press photo of next week's episode, and I won't spoil the photo for those who haven't seen it, but I mean, you guys can. But it was just an interesting photo of all the Survivor players at the challenge talking to Jeff. But I think I'm going to have Jamie or Josh as my vote next week. I'm leaning towards Jamie, but obviously it depends on which tribe loses. And I wonder if Jamie's going to try to use her idol that's actually a fake idol as sort of to gain agency in the game and try to like form a bond with somebody, let them know that, hey, I've got this immunity idol. And if that might actually make her a target, and then she might get voted out because of it. So that's the way that I'm leaning. But I look forward to hearing all the other fans' feedback. And that's it for me. You guys just take care.
Thanks, Robert.
Jeff did address that, Robert, in his podcast. The blocking.
Oh, the cheating?
Yeah, the blocking the, well, not the cheating, but he blocking where they couldn't see when they're doing something. And he said they do sometimes do that. He said, but with something that's that big, it's just too difficult to try to come up with something that's going to block it. And so they don't bother when it's something that big.
Yeah, they're overlooking a really easy answer to that. One, the Ratu tribe themselves could have just kicked the blocks over. Two,
yeah, once Jeff said, okay, you're good.
Yeah. And then two, they could have included that as part of the challenge. They could have told them, once you're done, disassemble it once you get cleared.
True.
So either way, they could cover that kind of thing. His reluctance was, we can't. Sometimes they're so big, you can't. But there are ways around all that.
I think he enjoys when they do something not scheduled, that
they hadn't anticipated.
They run over
in
and
that.
look.
Yeah.
And both teams were doing it, so I don't think it was unfair because they were both doing it.
They're both doing it, and one team did it better than the other.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the other team got there first. So,
yeah. That's the kind of thing it's contentious, and people have reservations about it. And in the game, you should always be trying to maximize your potential to win, regardless of how that works. Thanks, Robert. Next up, we got an email from Michael in Utah. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. Hello, fellow Survivor fans. Thank you to this warm and compassionate community for your thoughts and prayers. I'm recovering well from my surgery. Oh, that's great to hear. I want to continue my thoughts on Carolyn. In my earlier feedback, I mentioned that my recovering addict daughter is emotionally dramatic and is as unfiltered as Carolyn. It is uncanny how similar Carolyn and my daughter are. I also said in my previous feedback that I would never ally with her. I've since had a change of thought. You see, as a former addict, my daughter has acquired skills and motives that I am not comfortable with, but they may be just the skills that will take Carolyn far in the game. With reference to my daughter, she can lie like a sidewalk. I'm telling you that she can steal something from you, and you can have the evidence that she did it, but she can lie so convincingly that you would question your own motives. And she is skilled at stealing, even if it is just the small change from all the car trays in the neighborhood or an item from your own living room. You may not notice it for days or weeks. And when confronted, she will believe her own story, that she didn't do it. I'm quite surprised that Carolyn didn't put back the birdcage immunity idol as well as Danny did. The other skill that my daughter has is manipulation. She can come up with the most convincing stories and explanations that even a skilled therapist would be convinced of. So I'm beginning to think that Carolyn has a better chance of going far in the game of Survivor than my initial reaction was.
And Carolyn is actually a therapist to boot.
Regarding the birdcage idols, I had my misgivings early on in the show, but I really liked how Danny played his discovery. There is hope for the birdcage idol after all, and my support and cheering for Danny has gone way up. That's all for this episode. Remember, you are welcome at my fire anytime. Thanks, Michael. I like that extra insight, too. When Michael sent that first mention of his daughter and seeing the similarities, I was like a day or two after I woke up thinking, oh, I see something that I've seen before, too. That those sort of irrational outbursts. And I had a relative that had been in an accident and it caused them to hit their head and caused some trauma there. And he wasn't the same person after that. And he would have those similar kind of outbursts of things being said, or sometimes this really irrational laugh. And I thought, okay, maybe there's some similarity there. But that was like way in the background that brought it back out. But I love that insight. Thanks, Michael. Next up, we got a call from Rebecca.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. This is Rebecca calling from Oahu on the study break. Calling in with my thoughts about this week's episode. Who else thought Jeff was setting up Claire every time he asked her, "Are you sitting out again?" He said it last week, and he said it again this week, and then in the end, her tribe mates totally used that as a reason to vote her out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This was a great episode. I loved all the trickery. I loved the sneaky gameplay. Loved that Danny made a fake idol and hid it in the tree roots, and I actually felt so bad for Matt when he found the fake. My heart was breaking for him. And Danny was being so evil, making sure everyone knew that Matt had an idol. That was taking manipulation to the next level, and I loved it. And then just as amazing, on the Ratu tribe, Matthew was also making a fake idol, and he hid it in such an obvious place that when Jamie found it, my first thought was, that was weird. But no, it's another fake. And Jamie was so happy eating her worms and finding idols. I felt so bad that she was eventually going to be blindsided with this fake idol. And speaking of blindsided, how happy was Carson that he got out Helen? Sarah was super bummed that she was on the outside of the vote, but Jam Jam and Carolyn were thrilled. This episode was actually the moment where I thought I might begin to like Carolyn. She seemed a little less kooky. So we'll see what she does next week. The challenge was fun. Danny was an absolute beast. He is shaping up to be a killer player. Everyone likes him. He's sneaky, he's strong, he's totally under the radar. Nobody knows he has an idol. He's got all eyes off of him and onto other people. And I can't wait to see how far he goes. Okay, Ratu wins, Tika is second, and Soka is out. And it was funny because early in the episode, Danny, Claire, Heidi, and Josh were all talking about voting together against Matt and Franny. But after the challenge and Jeff putting ideas in their head, they were all pretty much united in voting out Claire. She should have joined in on the challenge. Next week, it seems like there's going to be a twist. It should be interesting. And okay, my study break is over. I'm going back to studying for my final exam tomorrow. Wish me luck. Thank you guys for everything, Joanna and Stacy. I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say and who's with me on joining Matt and Franny on their road trip. Aloha, everyone.
Thanks,
All
Rebecca.
right.
Good luck. Next up, we got a call from Jessie.
Hi, Joanna and Stacey. This is Jessie calling in again. And I have so many thoughts about all the fake idols. First of all, I really enjoyed watching all the antics with the fake idols. I thought it was very entertaining and very fun. However, I was a little bit frustrated from a strategic standpoint because both Danny and Matthew just kind of planted their fake idols without like a specific plan in mind. And it might work out for them and it might not. Now they each know who has a fake idol in their tribe, and that knowledge is power, but that knowledge is not control. And I just see that this could work out for them or it could not. For example, if Danny had wanted to vote out Matt this week for some reason, his tribe would not have agreed to vote out Matt with him because they all think that Matt has an idol. If Matthew showed like Jamie to find the fake idol, and Jamie is supposed to be his ally, so Jamie has some plan and says, don't worry about it, I'll play my idol on you. Like, what is he going to do? He can't tell her, well, actually, it's a fake that I planted. So I think it could could work out well for them and it could work out badly. Just giving someone a fake idol, I think, isn't like an impressive game move in and of itself if there's no kind of further plan to it. It was very entertaining to watch, but I wasn't that impressed in terms of strategy, to be honest. And then the other thing that I was wondering about was everyone on the Orange Tribe saw that the idol in the birdcage came with a fake idol. And so I thought, wow, from now on, every time you find an idol, you're going to have to question to yourself, like, is this real or is this fake? But we see Matthew from the Orange Tribe find an idol this week, and Jamie found what she thought was an idol this week, and neither of them questioned why it hadn't come with a fake idol. Neither of them thought, like, this is a fake that was planted by someone else, even though they both know that production is putting fake idols into the game, but neither of them questioned whether their idol was fake. So I just thought that was really interesting. Thanks again for a wonderful podcast, and can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say.
Thanks, Jessie. Yeah, I think those are some great points. I think probably what drew both Matthew and Jamie in was it looked so classic. It looked like the kind of advantage that comes after the Beware advantage or that comes after a normal kind of thing. So it was less likely, I guess, to cause a suspicion. But Jessie makes great points. You probably should be wondering from now on.
Yeah, though Matthew made his fake idol from beads off of the torches.
Right.
And so I know that they saw Brandon and that he had the fake idol and everything, but I don't think it looked, I think I'd have to go back and check, but I think it was a coin.
No,
So
yeah, that was the fake one that he had. I don't think
Yeah.
she's saying that. She's saying, look, if production's dumping fake idols in
Yeah.
now, you should probably worry that anything you come
I
across
get
is
that.
fake.
I get that too.
Okay. Good deal. Thanks, Jessie. Next up, we got an email from Justin in Michigan.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy and all the super fans. It's Justin from the Mitten State.
Okay, I don't think I've heard that before.
Me either, but that's interesting.
Okay.
I'm not as sad as most seem to be, to see Claire go. I've never been the most athletically gifted or the sharpest at puzzles, but I have often been the most competitive in a group. So I can't understand the mindset of voluntarily sitting out of challenges. Even if I wasn't confident in my abilities for a particular aspect of a challenge, my competitive nature would force me to at least want to try every challenge. Mm-hmm. Another note I had was that I wish we would have gotten Josh's backstory this episode. At least then it would have added a little suspense that there was actually a possibility of him going home.
Yeah,
With
good
a
point.
story like his, there's no way he's going to be the boot until his backstory is told.
Aha.
I hadn't thought about that. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
It's good
I'm
insight.
still keeping track and shuffling around my weekly power rankings to decide my picks for JSFL. It's not catapulting me to the top of the leaderboard, but at least it's a strategy keeping me out of the basement so far. I have Sarah and Jamie in the most trouble this week, but we'll see how it goes. Thanks for everything and looking forward to hearing what everyone else has to say. All right, thanks, Justin. Up next, we got a call from Chris.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. Hey, Survivor fans. Canadian citizen Kane just opened the show with the Canadian national anthem. It's nice to hear music, I guess, at the beginning, even if it's not the song that's on CBS's Do Not playlist, you know, the one that goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We got some action and a survivor scores some fish. I like this player. I see the NFL's got its brand on, and I'm cheering for him. Jamie's got a really nice smile. This and the crazy lady at Tribal Council last week, it proves to me that survivors do get seated for hair and makeup. Sorry, Jam, you're still going to need to brush your teeth. Jeff comes on and tells us, don't just tell us what you do on Survivor. Apply to be on Survivor. So come on, Stacy. Stop talking about Survivor. Apply to be on Survivor already. Let's be honest. Most diehard Survivor fans know who the Survivor Fan Podcast hosts are. All of them. from Rob to Dalton and everyone in between in no particular order. So why not just have a season with you guys? They'll have a built-in audience. When they were rotating the giant cubes in the water, that was beautiful, the way that they were tumbling in slow motion. It kind of reminded me of back in the 70s. They had this brand new game show where they rolled these large dice. It's called High Rollers, and it's got this brand new host we've never heard of called Alex Trebek. At the challenge, Swordsman Kane's team proves able. I won't get my vote off point, but at least my USB is still in the game. The jellyfish moment was great, and CBS is so good at providing footage of this stuff. Maybe it's the best kind of gold they can pull out of Fiji every season. I don't know, but it's interesting. The ecosystem has got to be getting used to the cameras being there. So, in a way, the creatures of Fiji are unlike any others in any habitat in our world. Isn't that amazing? And we have Survivor to thank for that. If they could just show, instead of Jeff asking us if we want to be on Survivor or not, 30 more seconds of this kind of stuff every episode, I'll stop talking about it and I'll apply. Thanks, CBS. Next, we see Jeff Probst talking about the Masters. Come on, Jeff. Don't just talk about the Masters. Sign up and play for the Masters on CBS. Part of me thinks Claire could be the crazy winner. You know, with that opening interview, it's the easiest one, you know, because the one being a homonym for having won the game. Jeff asks a pointed question at Tribal. So, Matt, what's your criteria for the vote when there's only 6 people in the tribe? Well, what the heck, Jeff? They've got a full deck. They've been playing strong. What's your criteria for show-running Survivor when out of the gate it's a third less of a season than it used to be? I like how now, after Jeff says, grab your torches, head back to camp, he says, good night. So if Gamer Kane survives the tribal council, he's going to get a compliment. Have a great week, everybody. Next week on Survivor. Next week on Survivor.
All right.
Thanks. Chris brings the energy. Did you get that? Knight Kane.
Yes.
He knighted him.
Yes.
Good stuff.
There were a lot of
them.
A lot of them in there.
Brand on NFL. Kane and Abel. I got that. Good deal. Thanks, Chris. Next up, we got a call from Tim.
Hey, Survivor fans. Tim from Connecticut here. After winning JSFL last season, I really wanted to make some more time to call in this season, so I'm going to try my best to call in a few times. This whole season has been framed to me like a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and it's interesting that even some of the Survivor fans podcast has gone there in our own little micro Survivor world. I'm wondering if it has to do with the movie coming out, or is it finally that this game is so mainstream that it's like Monopoly or Clue, and that enough people play it regularly or have seen people play it or know friends that play it, that it's no longer obscure. Either way, I've thought about looking at some of the cast as what if they were D&D classes. So without further ado, I think Danny probably is a rogue. We see him take the hide action while trying to get into the birdcage and does it very well. He also takes the dash action, I think, while hiding. Who else? Carolyn might be a warlock, although I'm not sure. Someone out there is watching out for her, but I don't think they're benevolent, making her... She's not a cleric unless it's for an evil god or perhaps a fallen paladin. I'm not sure. We'll wait and see. Carson's highest status is his intelligence, which usually means you're a wizard. However, I don't think he is. Perhaps he's an artificer or something else. He says he wants to be the puppet master, but to control puppets, you need more than just intelligence. Brandon's definitely a bard. He even said it. A literal jack of all trades. Bards have a feature called Jack of All Trades that allows them to add 1 to everything they don't already have proficiency in. So, of course, he can fly the team to a game and probably play some drums with a pep band, score a few points for the game. Full disclosure, I don't even know which edition football uses these days, so perhaps that analogy doesn't work. Speaking of bards, I think Kane's a bard as well, and anyone who's adventured with 2 bards in one party can tell you this tribe is all set. He and Brandon need to diversify a bit to make different subclasses, or perhaps a multi-class even coming up. Either way, Kane sings for the crew, makes them laugh. Clearly, bardic inspiration. Plus, I think he has the far traveler background. From Canada, I mean, he's exotic, he's strange, he's tall. Nice to see a Goliath on the tribe. Okay, Canada isn't quite Icewind Dale. Matthew, the warlock, had to sacrifice his shoulder to gain power. But with that power comes a new personality that even people back home wouldn't recognize. Watch out. I know from personal experience playing a warlock that power comes at a cost. And that cost was my hair. Not me, I just donated 16 inches of my hair to a charity, but my D&D character lost it all for good. Now, Plant Lady Jamie is definitely a modern druid. Older versions of D&D had druids as basically an enemy who wielded power of nature to do harm. However, the more modern benevolent druid heals with plants and can even become an animal for a time. Franny's hard to class. I thought for a while perhaps when she got done that challenge and she was having an emotional moment, perhaps she's a barbarian who just hasn't learned to control her rage yet. Barbarian is a poorly named D&D class, but basically they channel their emotions to really fuel themselves. Think like a mother lifting a car. Perhaps she's not that, though. Perhaps she's a fighter and just never leveled up high enough to show it off, or isn't there yet. But that would explain her squire, Matt. He's really just an NPC at this point. I feel like maybe someone showed up for character creation and made Matt, but then forgot to show up to the game, and they just kept him in for some reason. With Franny as my USB, I'm hoping that her character arc starts to really take off soon. Maybe without Matt. Anyway, thanks for everything you do, and can't wait to watch the rest of this season and see how it turns out.
Thanks, Tim. I love that. That was awesome. And I think Tim just connected the dots. We keep wondering what is going on with this theme, the tribal council theme and the sword and the shield. And he's saying maybe it's got something to do with that new D&D movie that is backed by Paramount.
Oh.
And so maybe we're going to get one of those tie-ins again, like we've gotten with movies
and
in the past.
Tribal council set.
Yeah, now, because it's so out of place. It's
Jeff, really pushing the gargoyles and
which forces the cameras to look more at the set.
Yep.
I think you got it, Tim. Plus, I loved all those analogies. You'll have to do their alignments next. Next up, we got a call from Drew.
Hey, Joanne and Stacey. Hey, everyone. This is Drew. I am on my way to work on this Saturday, but I remembered just in time to record some quick feedback. So I thought this was a good episode. I would like to take a moment to poo all over the Paramount Plus app on your phone. It's absolutely awful. I don't have a problem watching it at home, but just on the phone, the slightest blip in service, and then it struggles for like 5 minutes, and then by the time it comes back, it's trying to play more ads, but then those aren't coming through either, and then it's just like an error, like just error. So be warned, friends, if you're looking on the app, that your service is really, really consistent, or else you're going to be struggling, unless I guess you pay for premium. Anyway, neither here nor there. I mean, it was a pretty good episode. I can't remember if I had Claire say. I think I might have, but I feel okay about the ending because I didn't understand. You guys kind of got into it a little bit. I don't understand her reasoning for her strategy there at the end. Like she was saying, I wanted the team to be strong, so I sat out, but you guys didn't even give me a chance to show how strong I was. Like I can do these things, but also I sat out because I can't do these things. Well, I didn't even understand her own line of logic there, and so she was just trying to cover her career on both ends. So I don't know. That came out wrong. You know what I mean. So I just think that she says she's a big fan. She says she's been trying to get her for forever, but I just didn't feel like she belonged there. So, so sorry to see her go. Couple of points. Matthew, I guess finally got to see his hair down. He's great. He's looking good. His game is looking good. I kind of like that ally of his. Gosh, I still can't remember everyone's names yet. I think it's Janie. Anyway, the one that found the idol he planted. I thought that was a kind of a fun exchange. A couple of other. Oh yeah. So I actually watched it. It happened to be on Thursday, which happened to be my birthday, and just kind of a weird coincidence. I always find these things kind of interesting. But whoever was the football player, I can't remember the name.
Brandon.
His number on his jersey was 42, which just so happened to be what I turned this week. So I'm watching this on my 42nd birthday. There's a big 40 right there. If you know me, then the number 42 has some significance anyway. So it seemed like a nice little line of coincidences. Also, Kane, I really appreciate the patriotic, love of country and passion, but bro, do not sing. Please do not say. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, looking forward to just really kind of getting into after the next. I still think that if Kane's tribe goes, he's going to be the one. I've had him to go a couple weeks in a row actually. So that's kind of where I'm leaning still. All right, everyone have a good weekend. Bye.
Well, happy belated birthday, Drew.
Yeah, he did not appreciate Kane's nasal quality, I'm guessing. Good deal. Thanks, Drew. Next up, we got an email from Erin in Canada. Hi, Joanne and Stacey. Great episode. I would call that an easy vote out, but it was still enjoyable with lots of action and tribe time. There was lots of drama surrounding the fake idols. Carolyn's the only one with an idol who hasn't tricked anyone yet. I loved seeing personalities converge in this episode. If I were to dub the casting type this season, it would be Nerd Herd. There are multiple players who fall into that category. Kane, Matt, Carson, Franny, the list goes on. It's kind of refreshing, as past seasons only had one or two self-proclaimed nerds. I had to giggle when Kane was singing our national anthem, although I'm not sure what rendition it was, as the lyrics weren't right. But he sang it with lots of heart, and I loved it. Yeah, I think maybe he was shooting to be more inclusive. That might have been why he changed them. I actually think Manny, that threw me off. I'm still not used to seeing that. Let me start over. I actually think Manny, Matt, and Franny has a chance of making it to the merge together. They seem to strategize well with others in the game and not just between themselves. Franny especially seems to enjoy strategizing and thinking ahead. I can't wait for a fake idol to be played. I find that Josh and Sarah are getting a purple edit, and I hope to see more of them. Danny played the best this week, in my opinion. He's fun to watch run through the jungle and get excited about idols. He was smart to get the target off his back. I giggled as I imagined Stacy watching his love-struck USB get tricked with a fake idol. That was hard. Poor Matt. How embarrassing for them to watch back, I'm sure. Yeah, he's probably red-faced the whole episode nowadays, huh? I will leave with a question. Does it seem like players are making fewer trips to Shipwheel Island? If so, I'm not complaining. I love the tribe time. Have a great week. Thanks, Erin. Yeah, they held off this week, but something similar looks like it's inbound for the 4th week.
Yeah.
So, it's coming back, Erin. Sorry. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is David in Pittsburgh. And I think I made a mistake when we switched to daylight saving time, because I feel like I've turned the clock ahead one full day instead of one full hour. I'm so far behind, but I'm going to get this in no matter how incoherent it is. I was originally going to pick Claire for my USB, black, Jewish, gay. I thought she had it all. She was a very strategic player. I liked what she did with Matt on the bench in the first episode, and I liked her snarky comments. But she made a major miscalculation in sitting out. I know she said that she sat out the challenges for the team. I don't buy that. I just think she didn't want to break a fingernail while everybody else was
there you go,
digging through the sand and sweating and struggling. They were bonding, and she was not. And I think that was her first major mistake. Her second mistake was offering up Matt as an alternative, and she offers it up to Franny. Franny, I think if she had gone to Franny and said, who would you want out, and then talked to Heidi, she might have had something there. But honestly, Danny is the one that's calling all the shots. I think even if she had been playing in the challenges, unless she was really good at them, I think he would have been the one to get her out anyway. So Danny wants to keep the target off his back, and he's maneuvering and playing the game, and is very entertaining. But I'm wondering if he's helping Matt and not hurting him by letting Matt find the fake item. Remember when Xander had an idol? Everybody left him alone for so long because of the idol. You kept thinking, well, why did they try to vote him up? Because they're afraid that he'll play the idol. So now, isn't that what's happening? Josh says he was gunning for one of them, Franny or Matt. Now he's saying they're more dangerous because they have an idol. So the focus is off them. The only way I can see Danny turning this around is if he actually shows people that he has the real idol, and then he puts a target on his back. So I'm not sure if this is a great gameplay or not. We will see. As for Heidi and Josh, and Franny and Matt, I'm feeling very protective about Matt. He is one of the most unlucky players in Survivor, in real life as well. And now he's found an idol, so he's feeling great. I hope Franny doesn't betray him. And I hope by the end of Survivor, the two of them get to go on their road trip. Anyway, can't wait to hear what the rest of you think. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks, David. Yeah, that's the second time someone's brought up that Danny may have inadvertently helped Matt. I think that's definitely the case. And Matt needs all the help he can get. He is indeed a train wreck in the game. My USB. Goodness. I know how to pick them. Next up, we got a call from Parker.
Hey, it's Parker from Indiana, and I loved this episode. I loved the back and forth between the tribes before the challenge happened. I love that it wasn't... There was a lot of advantage focus, but the focus wasn't on the advantages. It was still on the people. And I feel like a lot of times that gets reversed in New School Survivor, where it's just overly focused on the advantage and all we're getting is people's reaction to the advantage, which this was a good balance, right? And I feel everybody got a confessional in this episode, right? At least one, I'm pretty sure. So that's awesome. But no, yeah, this is just a super fun episode. There was so many fun moments. I mean, you got Kane, you got Jamie. They were huge standouts. Brandon catching fish. You got Matthew with his fake idol shenanigans. And then over on SoCal, you got Danny with his fake idol shenanigans, which what I said last week stands. I love Danny so much. He is definitely my favorite person. He's the MVP of this episode, hands down. Even though the fake idol of it all kind of backfired on him because then it got the target off of Matt in a way, because then they were scared of voting for Matt because they knew that he had the idol. But at the same time, it was super funny. So... Yeah, no, I love Danny so much. Yeah, and we got stuff from Tika, which, you know, they're all big characters, but I feel like Sarah got more than she even got last episode, so that was great. But yeah, I did not see SoCal losing this challenge at all, but I'm glad that they did, because I was very done with Claire by the time this episode was over, because her mentality just annoys me to no end. Why go on Survivor if you're not going to try? Why, like, if you're not going to challenge yourself, don't go on the show. Because it's the hardest thing you're ever going to do in your life, right? And if you... I know she's talking about, I have nothing physically to offer in pregame and stuff like that. Okay, but still do it. All you needed to do in this episode, they asked you, hey, do you want to jump on this box and spin a thing around another thing? That's all you had to do. You don't even want to do that? Come on. What? Oh my gosh. And what she was spinning at tribal council, like, come on. This is trying to be like, oh, I wanted to try, but it was for the tribe. I just didn't. Come on. I'm glad that Heidi saw through that. And even Franny did and voted her to keep that tribe united. So I feel like this isn't going to fracture them as much as we're led to believe, because they did all vote together. So if they continue to not lose, I could see SoCal coming in strong into a merge. So I think, well, don't look at the press photos this week. If you don't want spoilers, don't look at the press photos, okay? Just a heads up. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to next week. I'm glad that Claire is gone, and I will see you all next time.
Thanks, Parker. I think that the one that you're referring to, they took that down. You can still find it out there, but it's not there. I don't know that it was that significant in the scheme of things either. So
we don't know.
Yeah.
It's a picture.
Yep. Next up, we got a call from Kim.
Hi, this is Kim from North Carolina. Last week, I couldn't call in because I didn't have a voice due to the pollen storm. This week, I really enjoyed the show. I thought Danny was portrayed in an extremely positive light, and he was very charming when he was celebrating his trickiness. I made my picks this week using a random integer function on my calculator, and I think I got 4 points, which is what I got last week. It may be the best way for me to play JSFL. Did I tell y'all that I lost my USB? Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for all you do, Joanne and Stacy. Can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say.
Awesome. I'm glad you're recovering from that pollen attack. We remember what it's like. You can't even go to North Georgia with me anymore, as bad as it hits you.
No, it's horrible. I lost my hearing and my eyes swell up. I can't go to North Georgia.
Yeah, it's that pollen can really wipe you out. Thanks, Kim. Next up, we got an email from Jack in California.
Hi, Survivor fans. I missed out on sending feedback from the second episode, so here are my thoughts on the last 2 weeks. From the preview of the second episode, I had a feeling that Matt and Franny would have started a new showmance, and I was spot on with that. I know that means they could be in quite a bit of trouble in the future, though. The birdcage hunt is now done, and I wouldn't have let some snake stop me from getting the clue or key for an advantage in the game. As for the challenge last week, I feel like the best strategy for that was to let the lightest person go up for the bridge, especially since you had to hold it while the person crossed for the lever to set it down on the platform. For the episode from this week, Danny impressed me quite a bit with his sneakiness and how he managed to get Matt to believe he has the real idol. If I was out there, I don't know if I would have eaten worms, but I guess if you're desperate, then you probably will eat whatever is in front of you. I think she just wanted to try them.
Yeah, it seemed more like that, yeah.
I understand the reason why Claire was voted out, but I'm curious as to why she decided to sit out on all challenges and not want to compete in them. I can possibly see a different ending for her if she did try and compete in the challenges. Speaking of challenges, I feel like Matthew could be in trouble in a future episode because of his shoulder injury. So far, the two castaways that have impressed me so far this season would be Carson, since he is easily playing both sides right now, and Danny. Can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say, and I'll talk to you all next week. All right, thanks, Jack. Up next, we have a call from Cameron.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy and Survivor fans. This is Cameron from North Carolina. Barely made it this week. I just watched the episode. It is Saturday about 1 p.m. Random thought to start this week off. Kane's O Canada rendition to me felt a lot like going to a hockey game. So every time you go to a Canadian team, when they face off against an American team, you always get an O Canada while watching an American program too. So cool little comparison there. I don't think I've ever heard the comparative analogy. I'm like Peter Pan running through the woods before, but alas, Danny's mission was a success. The framing of Matt was a Survivor villain move if I've ever seen one, especially that early on, so I'm interested in Danny from here on out for sure. Over on Raw 2, Matthew clearly had a similar MO, but he didn't seem quite as devious. He wasn't going to explicitly frame someone else, but it's interesting how this twist is shaking out. I'm enjoying it so far. Last week, a lot of people were speculating that Jeff was taking maybe a little bit of personal offense to Claire wanting to sit out every challenge, and I think we learned this week that they were definitely right. Jeff made that little passive-aggressive comment about her ego before the challenge started, and I thought that was pretty well-deserved. As we saw the rest of the episode play out, of course, it was just not the Claire show. It was very much anti-Claire, so for her watching at home, I hope she understands how it kind of got framed that way. But, you know, no hard intentions on her part. She definitely came to play, so sad to see her go on some fronts. But to be honest, I will say it, like, even watching those introduction videos before week 1 started, Claire's kind of rubbed me the wrong way. She seems like this venture capitalist type who's really good at getting what she wants. And even week 1 when she was talking to whoever else sat out, I saw something there that told me she could be very devious in this game. So honestly, I think that was a good moment of cutting the head off the snake while it's still young, because 3rd episode, getting her out, was probably a good move in the long run. Heidi over on SoCal, she comes off like a politician to me, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, politicians never tell you something face front. They just say all the big buzzwords and whatnot. That kind of is how she felt to me, especially when she was talking to Claire at camp and at Tribal. And someone like that reminds me of maybe like Ricard from season 41. So I think Heidi could be good at getting far, but you can't be too robotic in Survivor because you're not going to make Final Tribal Council that way. It was my 3rd week in a row of Dancing with Danger in JSFL. Little recap, week 1, I lost my USB Bruce. Week 2, I lost a safe point. And this week, I had Matt safe. And here comes SoCal to Tribal, and Matt's name's getting thrown out there first, but even the edit couldn't really save it. Like, it was very clearly going to be Claire as the episode went on, in my opinion. So, like I said before, kind of sad to see her go as far as seeing someone who really wanted to play Survivor. But they made a good move, clearly. Joanne and Stacy, Survivor fans, hope everyone's doing great, and I'll see y'all next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Cameron. Next up, we got a call from Noelle.
Hi, everyone. It's Noelle calling from spring break. Sorry if my feedback sucks this week. I'm not at home. So we've had meat shields. We've had, what did Stacy call it, brain shields? And now we have idol shields. This is going to be very interesting because I can't remember the last time we had somebody who had an idol that they thought was real and nobody was around to tell them it wasn't. That's really going to be interesting because not only is it happening to Matt, but it's happening to Jamie, and there's the potential that people will suspect that idols aren't real because all of the idols look different on the different tribes. This is really cool and fascinating, and I'm loving how it's playing out. I'm so happy that Tika didn't go to Tribal. I was just convinced that they were headed to Tribal for basically every episode until the merge, so I was really happy for them. They're really the underdogs right now, I feel. And now every tribe has been to tribal, so they seem pretty even-footed in that regard. I'm glad that Josh didn't go because I feel like we've gotten so little from him as far as footage and stuff that I was kind of hoping that he would be a big player after the merge, and that's why we weren't seeing him at all. I love Danny's play style. He reminds me a lot of Tony, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Bye!
Thanks, Noelle. Good job calling in from spring break. Next up, we got a call from Christine.
Hello, Joanna and Stacy, and all you Survivor fans. It's Christine from Hawaii. Just Christine, no Jade this time. Jade is traveling, and I just got back from a trip, both on spring break right now. So we didn't have a chance to talk about Survivor, but I just thought it's such a great episode. I really just wanted to share some of my thoughts about it. I was able to catch up on watching the episode, and just looking at Paul's visual roster, I really appreciate Paul's visual roster. I just don't know where I'd be without it. But, oh, poor Matt. It looks so sad. It says next to his name, no vote, fake community idol. Oh, dear. Yeah, it looks pretty bleak for Matt, my USB. I just hope he keeps his head down. I don't know. I'm worried about him. By the way, Danny is so much fun to watch. His enthusiasm for the game is so fun. I just love watching him get up to his hijinks. Kind of reminds me of Tony, the way that he had just laughing about everything and just having a good time. It's very entertaining. I'm also impressed with Matthew, long hair guy. He actually made his fake idol, which is stepping up there. I think Jade would approve. He was pretty sneaky getting Jamie to find it and hiding it by the well. And it was very believable. And Jamie seems to really trust him. I don't know if that's going to backfire for her, but it was fun to watch all of the trickery that went on this season and this episode. Next week, I'm predicting that Tika probably be going to tribal with maybe Sarah in trouble, but it'll probably be Matt. All right. Well, thanks so much for all you guys do, and I look forward to hearing what everyone has to say, and take care. Bye.
Good job. Thanks, Christine. Keep a good thought for our boy Matt. He can still pull this off. Next up, we got an email from Josh, the plush moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanne and Stacy, I almost sat out from doing feedback this week, but I'm not Claire. So here I am, participating in the feedback challenge for the SFP team. Hopefully, I won't cost us the win. Here's my other observations. Chaos Carson can't hold a candle to Chaos Cass. Carolyn is wearing two different shoes, also known as It's Tuesday. I don't think that Kane will be performing the Canadian national anthem at NHL games. Brandon was a Seahawk, so he should be good at catching fish. Kane's into playing fantasy games. They may be his best shot at winning Survivor. Matt and Franny plan to take a road trip. For now, she'll just take him for a ride. Fireman Danny couldn't find a Dalmatian, so he ate his own homework. Jim snores like a buzzsaw. That's better than snoozing and losing. Danny says he runs like Peter Pan. I think he runs like a llama. Matt thinks he found the key to victory, but it'll probably open the door with the tiger. Danny's evil. First he aims Matt at a fake idol, then he blabs that Matt found a real one. Worm Eater Jamie, I like that. We should call her Worm Eater. Worm Eater Jamie looked like she was practicing for the gross food challenge. Yeah. Matt is giving me serious Owen Charlie Brown vibes. Me too, brother, me too. When Lauren returns to work, she'll teach her class the Guess I'll Go Eat Worms song. Matthew is a plant daddy. His specialty is fertilizer. That's great. Jeff wouldn't be a good teacher. He's unable to control blatant cheating. Yes. Matthew needs to make up his mind. Sling or no sling? I agree. During the challenge, Jam almost got jammed under that log. Jamie gave Matthew a wash and set. With his fake idol, he gave her hogwash and a setup. Instead of knighting Kane, Jeff probably wanted to crown him for bending the sword. Fireman Danny burned his bridges with Claire. Matt's girlfriend left him. She took their dog. He lost his vote, and his idol's a fake. That has the makings of a hit country song. Claire wanted to stay to watch more challenges, but she got the hidey-ho. That's perfect. Soka's on a sick merry-go-round, or are they playing Wheel of Misfortune? Claire believed in addition by subtraction. Sitting out kept the tribe strong. Soka decided to cut to the chase and have Claire sit out the rest of the challenges. Did Jeff introduce Chekhov's gargoyle? Will it be an Adam Klein idol at Tribal? Claire wanted to see more. The view from the bench was too limited. All the team challenges require physical strength, even for puzzles. No wonder the Survivor 2.0 pre-merge plays out like the He-Man Woman Haters Club. Next time Franny teaches mindfulness and the editors throw out random, out-of-context clues. Tune in Wednesday to see what it all means. Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks, Joanne and Stacy, for all you do. Can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Thanks, Josh.
Heidi-ho.
Heidi-ho. Good deal. Next up, we got a call from Jeremiah.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. Hello, Survivor fans. Jeremiah here with some feedback. Let's start with our person voted off, Claire. Wow. Man, she had so much potential going into the season, and of course that faltered pretty quickly. I know it's not the main reason why she got voted out, but come on. You sit out every challenge. That's just not a good look. And from what I understand from a lot of people in the Survivor community, she's the first person voted out to have never competed in a immunity challenge. Yeah. What? That's crazy. Yeah, don't do that, folks. Don't do that at all. So, all right, so I got that away. I do have a couple of topics I would like to bring up that I have been hearing a lot of people talking about in the Survivor community. One of them, of course, is this whole talk about the 3 tribes of 6. Yeah, I think it's broken. I think we need to stop it. We've got enough sample sizes now. You look at the numbers, and they're not good, especially for women. I mean, women have been voted out quite a bit since doing this, and I just think it's bad for the game to have this many seasons doing this idea. So I don't know how you guys fall on this completely, but that's just kind of the way I'm looking at it. I definitely think that these examples that we've seen so far has led us to this point where let's go back to the 2 tribes. Okay, with that out of the way, the other thing I do want to talk about is this idol discussion. I know that you guys have been talking a little bit about as well. I mentioned last week that I do like the birdcage twist this season, so I'm sticking to that. But as far as this idea, though, one of the things they didn't talk about, but this idea with the fake idol thing about basically production making the fake idol for them and even having a notes and all that stuff. I really don't think that I like that. I mean, the reason mainly is because when production is involved in making of the fake idol, it just seems a bit much. Look at this season. We've got, 4 fake idols floating around? And outside of the one that Matthew made, now Matthew, of course, actually made that one, so that's kind of old school fake idol making, but I kind of feel for Matt because Matt was duped by something that was made by production, and I don't know, I guess you can make an argument, what does it matter? Is it all the same? I suppose in a way it is. I just don't know if I like the fact that production themselves are involved in making the fake idols, but that's just the way I fall on it. So now that's the other way. I guess as far as the episode's concerned, like I said, it was a pretty good episode. I'm really enjoying this season. As far as my predictions for next week, obviously my USB Sarah's in trouble. She's definitely in danger in that tribe. And then, of course, Josh seems like he might be on the outs for sure, and I'm still leaning towards Jane going out as well. Right now, I think I might go with Josh for my vote off. I haven't really quite decided yet. I'm sure my mind will be changed. All right, well, anyway, that's it for me. You guys take care. Until next time, this is Jeremiah from Southern California.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Do you have any thoughts on Jeremiah's 2 questions? He was asking about the 3 tribes of 6 and there.
He is correct in that if you look at right now, it's only been women voted out so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Bruce left on a medical, but he wasn't voted out. So only women have been voted out. So I think it probably does. But I don't know if it would be any different if it were 2 tribes of 9. It could be exactly the same.
Yeah, you could have found the same reason for getting rid of Claire for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And the big strategists are the ones, the big thinkers, they get targeted a lot, Helen did.
Helen and Maddie. Maddie was trying to run things.
Working really hard, yeah. Mm-hmm. And she seemed to be overplaying when she was doing that.
So you're saying maybe their gender wasn't relevant.
Right. I get where that idea comes from, and I'm not a fan of continuing for it always being all the way to the merge, 3 tribes. I think it gets, once a tribe like where Tika is, it's almost too low for them. They're just not enough players, and it's not interesting at tribal council.
Well, even if they started with tribes of 3, and then for maybe the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then switched it up like they used to, go to 2 tribes.
Exactly.
And then eventually get to the merge.
With full-on shuffles, too. With full-on randomization.
Full-on, yes. Yeah. Not just one person here or there, something like that, but just a complete redraw.
And it's so disruptive to the social order to hit the reset button like that and force people to adapt and react. You think you got something going, and then whoa. You just start to feel like, okay, I got this thing figured out.
I'm feeling pretty good, got it figured out, I got my alliance in place, and then boom, it shakes you again. I think they have to play that much harder. And just because it's a shorter season, I don't think that they can't do that, go from 3 to 2 to 1.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that would probably offer greater opportunity, and I don't know that that the women are being targeted as much, because they have a lot of opportunity to build the power alliance to avoid that too. And I guess some of it's a reaction to the physicality and the early challenges, and that all starts to taper because their overall energy levels drop when they're not getting regular food, obviously. I guess they could make some changes to that so that it didn't make you think that you needed to keep the bigger physical people. Although then you get someone in there like Lindsay, and she's just such a beast. It doesn't matter all the way through, beginning to end. So, yeah, I don't know. Definitely not a fan of the 3 all the way to the merge.
All right.
Oh, wait, he had one other thing. What was the other thing? Oh, the production doing fake idols. I was hesitant about that initially, but I don't know that I care. I can't see that it's now that I'm getting to see it play out. We really need data to make a call on that.
Well, here's the thing. They obviously give them enough material on things that come in, on baskets, on all kinds of different things, that there are all kinds of beads and different things throughout the season that they've talked about.
I've always
where they could make things.
Yeah, I've liked that. I've liked just
but
like what
I would
people
be
did
looking
with it.
at all those things, and if I saw an idol come through with things that I had seen, and then those things were missing, try to put it together. But the thing for me is that they basically said, okay, here's a fake idol if you want to use it as such. So how about you go, do something with this?
And Brandon completely voided it, completely undid it, because
Yeah.
he shared everything.
Well, that was the big thing. He went public. So.
Yeah. And you look at, I think this gives us a good data point to consider Jeremiah's question. Look how Danny used the fake one he was provided by production. Look at what Matthew was able to do, and they're roughly equivalent. Jamie didn't have any trouble believing that. He had the great cover story with I bet there's earthworms there where it's muddy, knowing that's where he had put it in that area for her to find it. And it was very believable, the thing that he had constructed. It was definitely well beyond it's a stick.
Brandon could still use his, now not with the people in his tribe, but as long as he feels safe with them, he could try to plant it at the merge if he's still there.
Absolutely.
He could use it for other people. But
so my point was that the effectiveness, the efficacy of the one that Danny used, the efficacy of the one that Matthew made, that was a wash. So I'm not sure production making them is a detractor, and that's my answer. I think it's a wash. Thanks, Jeremiah. Next up, we got a call from Jen.
Hi, everyone. This is Jen in California. So this was a fantastic episode full of deceit and creative gameplay, and I loved every minute of it. But first, before I forget, I want to give Mad props to the Survivor camera crew for catching that absolutely gorgeous sunrise. The complementary colors of the orange sky and the blue ocean was amazing. Like, I want that picture on my wall. But onto the gameplay. The series of events that ended up in the fake hidden immunity idols being found by both Matt and Jamie has got to be the story of the episode. So first, Danny making, planting, and then guiding everyone to search for the fake idol, or excuse me, the key to the fake idol, was next level. He played that just perfectly. And in doing that, he has absolutely thrown all suspicion off of himself, or anyone else for that matter, of having a hidden immunity idol, a true one. I really hope that in future episodes, the manner with which the true hidden immunity idol or the fake hidden immunity idol will be played will be just explosive, and I'm so here for it. I mean, what a payoff that will be. I mean, we know sometimes these things really fizzle, but I really hope that this one pays off and that we have just some awesome episodes of Survivor to look forward to. And then Matthew being so astute to be able to know that he should go out and look for another hidden immunity idol after Brandon played his was, again, next level play. I didn't even think of that when Brandon played his idol. So him having the wherewithal after finding the idol to go and make another one and replant it is amazing. Again, 0 people are suspecting that the person that has the true hidden immunity idol has anything. Way to go, Matthew. I liked the immunity challenge. I thought it was fun to watch, but I want to make a comment about the beginning of the challenge. I don't understand how anyone would dive headfirst into shallow water. I mean, there were some people that swam it, but it was shallow enough to walk with the water being chest level or even waist level at some points. At least that's how it looked to me. And diving headfirst into shallow water is just such a dangerous thing. I don't know why they wouldn't caution the survivors not to do that and just to jump in feet first. The things I think about when watching Survivor: safety first. We should have already learned this with Matthew and Bruce.
Thanks, Mom.
Just saying. And 2 final comments. First, you know how Jeff Probst has talked about the monster of the game the last few seasons? Well, he did it. He finally had the art department actually sculpt a monster for him to point out to the survivors. That gargoyle's gonna get you. Massive eye roll, Jeff. And secondly, Jeff's snuffer made a prolonged appearance this episode, and it is a cool one. I do love that. Well done, Survivor. And that's it for me. Looking forward to everybody else's feedback. Can't wait to hear it. Till next week. Bye.
Thanks, Jen. I think that's a great title for one of the episodes. Massive eye roll, Jeff. Good deal. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul, Louisiana here. And yeah, it was a fun episode, but I don't think that I really have that much to say about it. As nice as it was to get to know our players better, I actually have very few notes. Maybe that's because I was so caught up in everything. I don't know. But let's see. Matthew, now I like this guy a lot, in fact, but man, that shoulder is going to be his undoing for sure. The way he's playing poor Jamie, I mean, she tells us that she's totally in her element. She's connected with Matthew because they both love plants, they love being out together and surrounded by nature together, and hey, they even played their shots in the dark together. But bam, Matthew literally pointed out that idol to her by pointing at the ground and commenting on the possibility of worms being there in the mud. Look, it's wet there. There's no way she would suspect that he was leading her by the nose because, well, his arm was in a sling, and she was just helping him look for worms, right? Masterful, I've gotta say. And of course, on the other tribe, we have Danny, who was playing a similar game with Matt, and just as well. Maybe even more so, because Danny has managed to throw Matt under a bus that we didn't even know was on the island by calling him out for having an idol in front of everyone. But you know, Danny sort of confuses me, though. I thought he'd be an alpha male, but he comes off as sort of doofus. But is that just his wolf in sheep's clothing act? Because Danny is playing this game. But maybe do you think this could possibly backfire? Didn't someone say that Matt and Franny are untouchable now after finding out that he has an idol? Because I don't think that was the intended effect. But hey, if anyone can work around this, I think Danny can. Oh, and poor Matt, this guy cannot lie. At all. His denial to Danny and Josh was nothing short of pathetic, and he knew that as well. Last week I said that the woman of a power duo generally takes the fall, but I can see Matt going before Franny. She might even be the one to orchestrate it if she realizes that Matt has become a liability to her. So, the cheating aspect of the challenge always bothers me, and I completely understand why Jam Jam was so reluctant to literally run over and take a look at the solved puzzle. I mean, can you really call it a win when you have to cheat to achieve it? All I know is that Jam Jam's tribe had to dig deep to get him under that log. So yeah, I read Jeff's interview this week about why they allow the cheating, but it's always going to leave a bad taste in my mouth. Also, it made me realize very quickly that Carson isn't the puzzle genius he thinks he is. He may be good at them, but if he's going to target players that are smarter than he is, then he's going to have to keep a sharp eye on Matthew and Kane because they outplayed him in this challenge. Oh, and his bragging at the start of the episode, that didn't sit well with me either. I just felt it was a touch too much. In fact, I was actually wondering if it was foreshadowing, which I suppose it still could be. And lastly, there's Claire. She set herself up as the person that was most expendable and then panicked when she realized her mistake. But it was too late. I think that she thought that if she did exactly what Sandra did in her first go-around, she could pull the same rabbit out of the hat, but it don't work that way. I almost picked her as my USB. I probably should have because she lasted a week longer than my pick, but them's the breaks. Next to go, I just don't know. I want to pick Sarah because I feel she's the one in the most obvious amount of trouble, but I'm not sure that they'll lose the next challenge. And shouldn't there be a big target on Lauren since she has 2 votes? I'm still not sure why she shared that with everyone. I must have blinked during an important part of her game. And Soka, well, they just have me so confused about who's where in the pecking order, I just don't know. So, hey, I guess that's it for me. I'm out of here. Bye.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think Sarah, Josh, and Kane are still high on the list as probable vote-out targets. Definitely. Hey, we want to say a big thank you for everybody who took time to share their thoughts and predictions this week. You guys did fantastic. We enjoyed it, and we appreciate hearing from all of you.
And if you're playing JSFL, don't forget to make your Week 4 picks for 1 person voted off and 4 people who are still safe in the game at the end of the episode.
We'd love to have you come join us in these listener feedback shows. You can call and leave a voicemail, 206-350-1547, toll free, 844-643-8737, or you can record your own audio and attach it to an email or type up a quick email and send it to us, and we'll read it into the show on your behalf. The email is joannastacyshow@gmail.com. Feedback's due noon Pacific time on Saturdays. Everybody did great this week. And that's if you're before noon, you're before the deadline. You're great. We have budget for that. So don't worry if you're sending it in Saturday morning. You're still doing great. And we ask that you keep your feedback in the 3-minute range.
Anything else you needed to say about this episode before we put it to bed?
No, I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right, we'll be back on Wednesday with our next recap.
Have a good one.